Hello and welcome to another episode of Pavilion's Gaming Corner. Today's topic is one of my favorites, Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Ninja Storm 4, which is way too long to say, so from here on out, we will just call it Storm 4. I've been a big fan of the Ultimate Ninja games since forever, and when this one came out, I pretty much knew I was going to try and cover it. So it came out about a week and a half ago. Let's just get right into the fighting mechanics, as this is the most important aspect of any Ultimate Ninja game. The fighting mechanics in Storm 4 are the most solid out of any of the Storm titles, and I absolutely love it. The battles feel very fluid, and as hard as I look, I haven't found really anything negative about them. So, I own the PC version of Storm 4, and I've been playing it with my Xbox 360 controller, since that's what I'm most accustomed to when playing these games. So let's just go down a quick rundown of the controls. Left analog stick lets you move in combat, the D-pad lets you use your items, A is to jump, B is to punch, X is to throw your shurikens, and Y is to charge your chakra, start your chakra moves. Those are the brief controls. You can also do combos with a lot of them. The main one you're going to be using is pressing Y and then B to use your jutsu, or Y twice and B to use your ultimate. So now that you know the basic controls, let's take a look at how many characters you can choose from. Yeah, it's a lot. This game has the most characters out of any Storm game to date. I don't have an official number because I'm not 100% sure if I've unlocked them all yet. I think I have because I've beaten the story mode and the adventure mode, which we'll talk about in a bit, but I'm not 100% sure. But needless to say, you have a lot of characters to choose from, and build your team for any combat that you get yourself into. Let's talk about battle mechanics. So, we talked about the controls a bit, but there are a few mechanics that you can use in battles besides just combat moves. The first of all is support. This is a staple in the Storm series, and a lot of the Ultimate Ninja series. If you go into a team-based battle, you can choose two other characters to join you in battle. You can press the LB and RB shoulder buttons, and have them use their jutsus if they aren't in a cooldown. Supports also have a secondary ability, and that is when your team meter, in this case called a storm gauge, gets high enough, depending on the character, they can either block while you're charging your chakra. They can use chakra shurikens when you throw some as well. Or if you're in a combo, they will attack as well. So very useful when combating anybody. But that's not all. This is a brand new mechanic for Storm 4, and it's one that is amazing. You can now switch with your support members and play as them. All you have to do is move the right control stick, left or right, depending on which character you want. Now you have a team of 3 characters to fight in battle, instead of 1 like it used to be in past games. This mechanic is great because it has a lot of depth to fights and the gameplay itself. So with all the combat mechanics done, let's move on to story mode. The game's story mode, in my opinion, wasn't the best, but it wasn't bad either. My favorite Storm story mode was Storm 2. They nailed it on the head with that game. But with this game, some of it was lackluster. The story picks up right where Storm 3 basically left off. There'll be some small spoilers about fights and a character or two, but nothing big if you aren't fully caught up with the story. Most of the first half of the story is all still pictures, with talking over them. This is what bugged me the most about the story mode. I've been used to the other games where they showed a lot of animation and really made the story mode interesting. But this one they went still pictures. It could have been done a lot better. There are some key fights that I really want to pick on through story mode that were just so boring that it hurt playing through them. I'm mainly talking about the big boss fights. Now in Storm 2, the big boss fights were fun, interesting, you got to move around, dodge, try to time your attacks. They were amazing to play through. Some of them were really hard. In Storm 4, however, most big boss fights, you're also big, and for some reason, whenever you're big, your moves are so sluggish, it feels like it takes a full minute just to pull off a combo. This right here is the worst game design you could do for a boss fight, when every other fight, you're moving quickly. I'm glad they tried to bring the big boss fights back, but they did them in all the wrong ways. Like the fight when you're Kakashi fighting Kagura in her big beast form. It's basically, oh, just target something and use a single move over and over and over and over and over again till you win. This is not fun. This is annoying. Or how about the part where you're fighting as Naruto in his Nine Tails form and then it switches to you fucking running away from the enemy? This is the only time this mechanic is used, and it's stupid. Like, what? Why am I running? I mean, they tell you why in the game, but it doesn't feel right. It doesn't belong in the game. Okay. You probably get the idea that I hate the big boss fights in this game. Those are two key examples of why they just did not work. So let's switch over to some more of the positives about story mode. The story mode portrays the most important parts of the Naruto story during the last half of the war, and that's a very good thing. They don't bother about any of the filler or any of that, it's all the important stuff. There are times during the story you can feel the emotions that are had from the characters. You can tell what they're thinking.
Why? Because this is my ninja way. Stay strong
they
and stay
portrayed the story very well. And if you haven't kept up with the Naruto story, this will tell you everything you need to know in one of the best ways possible. Because you can actually get to play through a lot of the fun part, and get to be there for the twists and turns of the story and play through the effects of those twists and turns. It's great. One thing that I loved in some of the missions was some stages allowed you to walk up walls and fight on them. I thought this was going to be a new mechanic in versus mode, but sadly it wasn't. But it was still very cool during those fights to be able to walk and fight on the walls. Overall, the story mode for Storm 4 was good. I had some issues with some of the fights, and the first half had like little to no animation, but the second half picked up the animation a bit more. It was still a lot of still pictures, which did kind of ruin some parts for me, but overall it was a good playthrough. It doesn't take you very long. I think the most it should take anybody is 10 hours. But it tells you the important story and does a good job at portraying that story. Now I just have to go and S-rank all the missions. Yay! So now we're going to move on to adventure mode. What? This mode, in my opinion, should not exist at all. It took me 2 hours to complete the story, or lack thereof. Adventure mode is set after the events of story mode, and you play as Naruto, completing what the game calls missions. The main missions of this mode are basically Kakashi and Sakura's plan to try and push Naruto and Hinata closer together. That's basically it. That's it. Ah! Oh, and along the way you hear about fights Naruto has been in, and that use flashback fights. Yep. You guessed it, adventure mode is basically flashback fights. Every main fight you have is a fight from the past. That's all. Flashbacks. Really? Really? The only thing that saved adventure mode was the inclusion of the ninja tournament. But honestly, they should have just had that as its own mode and scrapped adventure mode altogether. I honestly wish I could erase those 2 hours of adventure mode. It sucked. I hated every minute of it. The ninja tournament is basically the ultimate test of your skills. You choose a ninja team, and during whatever rank you choose, you can't switch your team out. You also can't heal your team between battles unless you have specific items. So if you're like me who likes to go into this mode with no items, it's going to test your skills pretty well. But unfortunately, that's pretty much it to adventure mode. It's pretty lackluster, just a bunch of flashback fights there, some other fights that aren't even important. Adventure mode can honestly be ignored and you wouldn't be missing out on anything from the game.
Let's finish this.
So overall, I do love Storm 4. The art is fantastic. It's a huge step up from the other Storm games. The game mechanics are great, and I never ran into any issues playing the game on my computer. But that said, if you haven't bought Storm 4 yet and you're looking to get it on the computer, and you take a look at the Steam page, you'll currently notice it has a lot of mixed reviews. And I want to take a small look at that. Most issues I have seen from reviews are: the game only runs at 30 FPS. It has huge lag spikes. Menu is only running at like 2 frames per second. The game is badly optimized. Those 4 statements sum up most of the bad reviews at a simple glance. Some go more in depth, but I'm just going to tackle the simple ones. So in order to tackle this, I'll tell you the specs of my desktop. I have an Intel i7 3770 CPU that runs at 3.4 gigahertz. 32 gigabytes of RAM, which is more than anybody ever needs. I have an AMD Radeon R9 270X graphics card, and I'm running Windows 7. The only options I changed in the in-game menu itself was I made sure I have FXAA on, shadow quality on high, and resolution at 1080p. I didn't change any external settings or anything like that. I ran the whole game with Steam's in-game FPS counter on and my Fraps FPS counter in, I think the lowest I dipped was 27 frames per second. Most of the time I was running at a solid 30. Yes, the game is locked at 30 FPS, just like every other Storm game in existence. And I did my research. The only interview that said anything about FPS was back in the mid-2015, and they said they were aiming for 60 FPS, aka not a guarantee. But unfortunately, some people thought that was, oh, the game's going to run at 60 FPS, I don't have to worry. But then the game got delayed, so they probably scrapped the aiming for 60 FPS and just kept it at a solid 30 to get it out sooner than later, even after the delay. Huge lag spikes, and menu running only at FPS, and badly optimized. I didn't encounter any of these problems. A lot of people said that the AMD cards have the most problems. I have an AMD card. Didn't experience any of the issues. Now, while I don't have proof to back this up, I think a lot of the issues might be because the minimum specs listed on the Steam page, while it could run the game, you would probably be playing at 1 FPS the whole time. So if you're running a machine that has specs just barely above the minimum, that would really explain the lag. And there are people who are saying that they have much higher specs and still seeing lag. I really don't have any idea about that. It could be an issue with the machine itself, but I've had no problem running this game on my desktop, laptop, and my friends that have it don't have any problem at all either. So it's not that the game is badly optimized, it's your computer. That is completely my opinion because of the experiences that I've had, which have been no bad experiences. So for those looking to buy this game on Steam, and have seen the bad reviews, and they kind of pushed you away due to the lag issues. My opinion is, as long as you don't have the specs that are close to the minimum they give on the Steam page, you should be fine, and you will have a blast playing this game. Well, I think I've talked more than enough about this game and how much I enjoy it, even though there are some crappy parts. So I hope you enjoyed the Naruto-filled episode of Pavilion's Gaming Corner, and I'll see you back here in 2 weeks for another episode of Pavilion's Gaming Corner. Psst, don't forget to comment and subscribe!